deep into the Atlantic Ocean, in the way of the northern winds. Seas of lava hardened by the ocean. A land torn by titans. Primitive woodlands, children of mist and fire. Crowned by peaks that sleep and are reborn. A young island brimming with plants and animals, prisoners in invisible cages. Where dwells a colossus who lost his heart in a distant past. About 1 million years old, La Palma is the union of two different islands. In the south, rough and sprinkled with green profiles of volcanic cones, the character of a short life. The north shows signs of premature erosion. With the silence of volcanoes, erosion erased a huge building of which only the foundations remain, and 2 kilometers of vertigo. And it keeps dismantling a cavern of 8,000 meters diameter, the great void of the Taburiente crater. The Las Angustias ravine drains downhill what this huge funnel has swallowed. Abundant rains damage patches of canary willow that keep growing back. A miracle well known to animal species whose vital cycle depends on these trees. The canary willow ermine is the caterpillar of an endemic moth that crunches and swallows its leaves. Of the green canopy, there remains a dense umbrella of fibers, where thousands of caterpillars leave small cocoons, that one day will free fresh hordes of tiny butterflies. This chaotic forest brigade reaches every corner, thanks to the high technology of a silky thread. It is so thin, it is hard to see it, but it is stronger than steel of the same thickness. No magic tricks needed. Its trace is devastating, a wild pruning that temporarily disfigures these leafy trees. As the puddles dry in the sun, paradossa spiders seem to walk on water. The miracle is a thick cream that allows them to float, and the goal is as earthly as survival. In the spring, restless grey wagtails scan the calm shore looking for food, forecasting what's to come. There will be hours of solidarity and wait. La Caldera keeps cracking as its walls give way. An evident and irreversible decay, a landscape as genuine as the unstable mountainsides crowded by Canary Island pines. The Canary Island pine forest is solid by nature, cosmopolitan up to where the weather allows it, and austere by imposition of the inclemencies. Here, the sparrowhawk is as rare as any fowl that needs its offspring to prosper. It is a matter of space, because each couple takes up a large area. Being 3 weeks old, the largest chicks leave the white protection of their childhood. Now they wear a less flashy coat, better suited for the forest environment that will be their home for the rest of their lives. The female supervises the nest as she waits for the male to do his duty. The youngsters demand one prey after another, and it is still long before they become independent. Unlike the sturdy and lean forests over hills and mountainsides, pine forests facing the trade winds have better access to humidity. In this rarefied atmosphere, some rupicola plants, such as giant house leeks and bayas, find vital support here. They pump up their leaves and cover the naked walls up to the peaks. Lichens and Bryophytes of eye-catching shapes and colors cheer up these somber cliffs. This La Palma pimiella recycles all the putrefaction that takes over damp corners. The fearsome centipede, of nocturnal habits, returns to its shelter with the break of dawn. The La Palma large white calmly hides its lay under a leaf. It is more convenient this way, since enemies are plentiful. Its caterpillars are parasitized by Canary and tachina fly larvae, which will become huge and harmless in their adult phase. Now it searches the leaves, probably for water left by the fog. This sunrose from La Caldera is one of the most amazing botanic discoveries of La Palma. Every living specimen descends from one single free plant, found and extinct in just a year. The leaves of this rare and hairy Canarian chickpea look like combs with attached earrings to climb. This bindweed is pretty rare in La Palma and endemic to El Hierro and Tenerife. Longhorned bees get to the Webb's bugloss. Flowers mean the world to them. They provide the pollen that they pick with a special part of the tibia. they defend their little domain, where they expect the arrival of a female for mating. Peaks are usually a challenge in life, by excess or defect. Polar air wedges upset a complex balance of pressure and wind that covers the peaks in a perfect glacial winter. When they clash against bushes and stones, the small drops of humidity dragged by the trade winds get frozen. They are the freezing fogs that fill the mountains with ice and snow statues. Only a few dare face them. Spring needs the sun that appears when the breeze goes away under the weight of an invisible flagstone. When the ice melts away, the biodiversity slowly frees itself from its yoke and puts on crests of spectacular flora. The La Palma violet becomes a carpet here. Spring reaches the most distant platforms, where pink buglosses display all their beauty to attract different species of butterflies. They are close cousins of other buglosses that dwell in the high mountains of Tenerife. On occasions, a strange genetic combination turns them white. These are all remains of a nirvana broken by the hand of man, by fire and cattle. Only splinters on the edge of the cliff remain of a fabulous Canary Islands juniper woodland, and many other native plants had to resign themselves to uncomfortable corners. Thanks to great conservation efforts, the La Palma Broom, one of the most beautiful leguminous plants of the La Palma Peaks, has overcome a precarious situation and now decorates mountainsides wonderfully. Well camouflaged, this nocturnal butterfly sticks its lei to a branch. It is a minor problem, since caterpillars and leaves have always been on good terms. The sticky broom had its benefits in the middle of all the destruction, and twice over. With a cleared territory, and being of almost no interest for goats and rabbits, it managed to expand and form several carpets. The spectacled warbler is one of the few fowls able to take profit of these tight bushes. The peak is the narrow frontier that both unites and divides two opposing worlds. On the one side, impassable walls where humidity is a rare and passing charity. On the other, the trade winds, at a standstill most of the year, nourish the leafy landscapes of the pretty island. These Canary Island pine forests, wrapped by mists, hide an unexpected biodiversity. In an age-old pine, 3 buzzard chicks grow without much trouble. It is a respectable number for this bird of prey, and the mist hasn't been very helpful. It will have to move further away to find better game preserves. Some leguminous plants seem haunted by a particular curse. Cienfuegos hang from a thread. Rabbits and fires are part of the problem. Their terrible breeding strategy prevents the formation of seedlings. They grow old alone, and there are very few left. The Laurel Forest covers large northern and western areas of the island, reaching almost the sea. It is a relic of the past, a subtropical woodland in the heart of a young volcanic island, full of surprises. Canary Island's bumblebees take profit of the very little nectar produced by the pininana flowers, a bugloss adapted to live in the clearer zones of the Laurel Forest. A rare endemism to La Palma that can reach a height of 3 meters. There are more laurel pigeons here than in all the other islands put together. The true origin of these fowl still hasn't been found, but they are an ancient lineage, very distant from that of another pigeon endemic to the Canary Islands. We also find many rats, with a wonderful skill to switch a diet of leaves and fruits for one of fresh meat. At ground level, any nest is an easy prey, day or night. Seduced by a mysterious spell, the Manx shearwater flies over the ravines, looking for the springy soil of the Laurel Forest. It may have dug into something other than its nest. The innate clumsiness of these birds on the ground is an extra incentive for the rats. The first breeding colony of the Canary long-eared bat was discovered in a volcanic tube of La Palma. They also work as improvised dining rooms to shred their prey. The extreme paleness of one of the few troglodyte amphipods of the world contrasts with the colourful weevil of the subsoil that lives in areas close to the surface. Here lie the remains of the extinct giant lizards. The Boll's laurel pigeon is another icon in this denseness. With the passing of time, it has lost that legendary aura to become more mundane. It ventures into farms where vegetation is no higher than a few inches. The antipodes of a forest, with the sky as only canopy, and it doesn't seem to worry. Even the young ones have learnt the lesson. Its temerity goes even further. It flies to the treeless ravines searching for water, a reckless act for a strictly forest fowl. The north side is sprinkled with small treasures. With the first rains, the patches of Tabaiba Dulce regained their splendor. The Gaddafi Apache is the largest of the archipelago, a Roman legion hardened by 1,000 battles and saltpeter. Huge and old spurges that close ranks, avoiding competition from other plants and softening the interior temperature by several degrees. In these steep coasts, endemic plants survive, such as the Gelguen knapweed, one of the 7 known species of the island. Refloating the Pico Cernicolo is not an easy task. It resists, in its faraway fortress, the efficiency of a medieval siege. There is no possible escape from here. Flanked by cliffs, the largest colony of common terns in the whole archipelago crowds together. A small volcanic plug that in better times hosted about 30 couples. Living in a group is an efficient strategy to deter possible predators. Still, the worst enemy of the chicks can be the lack of shade. Many of the breeding fowls desert from one year to the other, perhaps due to the temporary absence of their main prey, small surface fish. Under the sea, we can also find singular fortresses of biodiversity. Caverns that go 100 meters deep into the foundations of the island, where silence and darkness reign. In these stone labyrinths, currents drag food in suspension that the crinoids enjoy, and that giant sea anemones frequent. Many sponges get into these habitats because they find no competition. The Atlantic cornetfish uses darkness to camouflage itself and take its prey by surprise. By the end of the spring, the Atlantic slipper lobster arrives from the deepest bottom, looking for shelter. This rare and evasive cave fish is of tropical origin. It showed up a few decades ago, perhaps due to the gradual warming of these waters. Recent volcanism in La Palma has molded a singular marine landscape. Rocky bottoms covered by a fine black sand have been colonized by leaps and bounds. In high depths, where rivers of lava fell into the ocean, we find gardens of black coral. In reality, while the coral is alive, it has a brown tone, and its ramification system gives the colony a featherish look. Cumbre Vieja, the southern half of La Palma, grows like a gable roof on a solid spine, aligned from north to south. Its vertebrae are volcanoes, and its blood molten rocks that were spilt here 150,000 years ago. Only in specific points does this almost barren lava flow develop into a layer of tabaibas amargas. This is the refuge of the La Palma stick grasshopper, one of the rarest of the Canary Islands. Its dependence on this plant is complete, and it needs the entire tabaiba patch. They are like migrating grasshoppers. On its western side, the Laurel Forest stretches close to the ground, but it grows weak as the crests avoid the trade winds due to their lower heights. Better known for its insectivorous habits, the blackbird can be an efficient seed spreader for many bushes and trees. The La Palma Chaffinch may have been the first to arrive in the islands, the pioneer of an amazing evolutionary process. Considered until recently an exclusive subspecies, these birds show great genetic similarities to the birds from El Hierro. Insular environments establish their own patterns of colonization, even if at times they seem capricious. Only that explains that the chough, well adapted to cover great distances, lives today exclusively in La Palma. They reach other islands only for a brief existence, like shooting stars. Fowls without apparent breeding function are twice as many as in other colonies. Breeding colonies seem to be at the limit of their capacity, thus stopping the incorporation of new couples. And it is not because they lack walls and nooks. This animal symbol of La Palma nature is so versatile that it finds what it needs in every moment and place. La Palma is one of the highest islands of the archipelago. This explains the presence of the greatest Canary Islands ecosystem, a vein that enriches its biodiversity. Though young, erosion has dismantled it to its foundations, creating new landscapes. Corners surrounded by cliffs and mist that may hide evolution treasures.